Hello and welcome to TSLOPE. In this video, I will be demonstrating how to create a T-slope model. To begin with, I'm importing a top surface. For this example, I'm using a top surface that is a point cloud collected from a drone flight. Because this was collected from a drone, there is also imagery attached, which will lead me into importing the geo image and showing you how you can combine it so you have your surface with the photo attached to it. So the geo image is now imported. If I go back to the top surface, I can scroll down to surface style and under geo image, select my image, and there you can see the image is now attached to the surface. I have imported a LiDAR from open source, and I'm going to use that to define my material boundary between my colluvium and my loess, the two materials that I'll be defining later in this video. So here I'm labeling it as colluvium, and I'm going to uncheck the box that says is locked and move it down 1 meter. And after then, I will check this as locked again so that it doesn't move accidentally. And you can see here I'm just rotating the model to check that it is in the position I want. And you can easily show and unshow different surfaces depending on what you want to see. So now I've imported my LiDAR data and created that layer. I'm going to define my materials. You can change the color, and this can help you define which material is which. Here I'm starting with colluvium. I can set different unit weights depending on whether the material is saturated and unsaturated, and I can change the cohesion and angle of friction when using more Coulomb. There are also many other material properties that you can use depending on your failure criterion. So for this example, more Coulomb is the most relevant, but for other examples, you may wish to change to a different failure criterion, and you will see different material properties come into place. So here I'm now defining the loess, and this has slightly different saturated and unsaturated values and cohesion as well. So now I have my two material properties. I'm going to scroll down and import some QGIS data. For this project, we had a QGIS link, and this is demonstrating how you can open a QGIS file and import some of the data. For this project, the main interesting information from QGIS is the property titles layer. This project also needs seismic loads considering. So I've just added a 0.3 horizontal seismic load, and I'm going to create a load case of that seismic load to factor into our slope stability model. Once you've done all this, it's as simple as creating your first cross section. I've just changed the view back to a top-down to get a better orientation for my cross-section, and I can just drag and move the cross-section to where I want it to be, and then I will go ahead and create a 2D slope to create a cross-section of. So when I create a new slope, I can add in my load case to factor that in. If you forget to do this, you can always add this in when you have a 2D slope in play anyway. The first thing I'm doing once I have my slope activated is moving the limits to where the start and end of the failure is likely to be. And you'll see that circle just is a seed circle, so just moves as to where I've put those limits, and this is what will be used to create the actual failure surface or predicted failure surface. I've now defined my different material properties based on that layer we defined earlier. And if I move back to slope here, I can just check that all my top and basal surfaces are correct, and I can press solve. If you haven't activated your license, everything up until the solve button will be accessible to you. But in order to solve your model, you will have to activate your license. As you can see, it's a bit of an iterative process to assess where the limit is likely to be to make sure that you are getting the full extent of the potential failure. This basal surface can then be duplicated in order to run a 3D slope stability assessment, which I'll show in another video. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this useful. If you have any further questions or would like to book a demo, feel free to reach out at support@targasoft.com.